Right, I'm not gonna be talking. I'm just gonna be playing my game. So enjoy if you do decide to watch.
It's a little like a bank robber saying, "Oh, before I go into the lobby with my sacks that I'm ready to fill up, I'm just going to fire the cops.
Yeah.
And now I'll go in and take the money."
But again, Elon's never done anything harmful, only productive. Or how about the Department of Labor, which oversees the National Labor Relations Board, the Office of Federal Contract Compliance Programs, and the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, all of which had over a dozen open investigations into Tesla and SpaceX regarding alleged unfair labor practices, safety violations, and discriminatory work practices. And in response, well, Trump fired the Department of Labor Inspector General, the chair of the NLRB, blocked their ability to rule on cases, gutted the Office of Federal Contract Compliance Programs via executive order, which prevented their investigations findings about Tesla from being made public, and for good measure, fired 2 of the 3 Democratic commissioners on the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission. Again, Elon's never done anything harmful, only productive. The EPA had multiple lawsuits against Tesla over violations of the Clean Air Act and hazardous waste laws at the company's automotive manufacturing plant in Fremont, California. Trump fired the Inspector General. The FEC was set to rule on a number of complaints filed during the 2024 election cycle, including complaints regarding Musk's America PAC. So Trump illegally removed the FEC chair from her post. The Department of the Interior runs the Fish and Wildlife Service, which Musk has repeatedly clashed with. Trump fired the DOI Inspector General. The DOJ filed a lawsuit in 2023 against SpaceX for allegedly engaging in hiring discrimination and investigations into whether Tesla had been candid in describing the features of its vehicles. Trump has since remade the DOJ in his image. The SEC sued Twitter in January, alleging Musk misled shareholders about his Twitter stock purchases in 2022 and ordered Musk to pay the federal government as much as $150 million. Trump has since pushed out the SEC chair, leaving the agency with a Republican majority. In each of these instances, the principal beneficiary isn't some nebulous concept of waste, fraud, and abuse, as Musk loves to claim. It is Elon Musk himself. He is getting rid of the cops who regulate his own business interests and branding this as a win for the American people, all the while claiming that he's never done anything harmful, only productive. So look, I am not advocating for the destruction of any property, regardless of which side of the aisle you're on. But the victimhood shtick is getting old. Elon loves to frame himself as some beacon of virtue, but he's either lying to himself or lying to you. Just like Trump, this is another thin-skinned billionaire who feels like he's getting the short ends of the stick, all the while he is literally the reason that people won't get healthcare, that people won't get clean water or food, that people won't get education, won't have jobs, won't get relief from predatory banks. But hey, at least Tesla and SpaceX will get hefty government contracts, despite constant assurances, by the way, of no conflicts of interest. This whole charade is as tired as it is transparent. Elon Musk is interested in helping one person, and that's Elon Musk. The only way you can miss it is if you're burying your head in the sand. Before you go, first, if you enjoyed this content and you want to see more and support independent media,
Mobsy Groves? Kelsta LeMay.
Mifwa, Asfa.
Watuni.
Swin K. Sarif. Unchi Bay.
Proud.
Washinoiba. Kunze. Huh?
Today's video is brought to you by Vessi. I'm going to tell you more about them a little bit later on. They make shoes that
Pandoli
suggest holding up a
Usenet.
shoe.
Smishy
Hello
Ivana.
everybody, welcome back to another episode of
Dala.
Decoding the Unknown. As always, I'm your host, Simon
Shibi
Wemsley, one of my writers, in this case,
Oliver
Katie. Thank you, Katie.
Uzamudi.
There's written me a script, The Bizarre Phenomenon of Spontaneous Human Combustion. Is it real or is it a myth? Wasn't there like an X-Files about this? Or like a CSI or something, and there was like a burned body, and they were like, but there's no marks anywhere. And I think it was CSI, and then they come across like a totally reasonable explanation. People don't just catch on fire. Right?
Vincata
I'm open to this one. Maybe there's some
Sigluna.
sides there. Maybe there's some cool examples. Let's just jump in. I didn't give my inevitable demise too much thought as a child, but when I did, I presumed I would go out in one of three pretty specific ways. Number one, death by swallowing gum. I don't remember who told me this, but I was pretty
Torky.
certain as a kid that if you
Shooks
swallowed
of
chewing gum or
Fazoo.
bubble gum,
Huh?
you would die. What the
Swama.
no one's ever told me this. It was always like,
Apolachaba.
oh, if you swallow that, it'll be in your tummy for like
Sure.
7 years. That's what everyone
Sir,
said.
get
and
blue.
that turned out to not be true at all. People swallow gum all the time. Nowadays, if I'm in a pinch, I'll swallow gum because I know I'm going to poo it out real soon. It's not I've got like years and years of gum in my tummy. I feel like tummy is quite a childish word for it.
Kuba
isn't it?
Young?
That's what I call, like, we've got 2 kids. And it's like,
Uppy.
in your tum-tum.
Gosh.
Sensational.
I suppose I should say stomach, but I kind of mean the whole system. Intestinal
Canicle
tract and all.
narwhal.
Why I continued to merrily chomp on Hubba Bubba and Orbit when I knew I was dancing with the devil on a very slippery slope, I have no idea. Can you imagine if that was
Fish?
true?
You
No
sure?
one. If every piece of
Hella
chewing gum
boy.
had like a little
Mishka
arsenic thing
Froms.
inside.
Tuuni
Arsenic? Is that what
Kana.
kills you? Cyanide. Cyanide. I mean, arsenic does kill you as well, right? But not like, it's not like a suicide
Nuts.
pill. There'd just be a tiny little suicide pill in there, and if you accidentally swallow that gum, death. Instant death. No one would be chewing that gum no matter how good it tastes. Orbit would have a real marketing nightmare. I think I thought it would somehow settle over my windpipe or something, but anyway, cue blind panic when I accidentally swallowed a piece while on holiday with my grandparents. I spent a couple of minutes in floods of tears because I'd never see my parents again. About 30 seconds feeling relieved that I was in fact still alive, and the rest of my life forgetting all about it. Number 2, the IRA. Oh, okay. Like, I'm a bit too, I think in the last episode I
Today's video is sponsored by Squarespace. On December the 24th, 1885, a few days before he was questioned on suspicion of murder, John Larson, a farmhand, went over to his employer's house after being invited to spend Christmas with them. Their names were Matilda and Patrick Rooney, an elderly couple who lived at their farm outside Seneca, Illinois. The couple were merry and filled with seasonal cheer, and their drinking reflected that. The pair were known to be heavy drinkers, and Christmas was no exception. Being a farmhand, John was used to early nights, so he excused himself around 8 p.m. and headed to bed, to the spare room in the couple's home. The couple's son, who was also named John, left his parents' home around sometime after that, and all was peaceful until the morning. John had a somewhat peaceful sleep aside from a small breathing problem that struck him in the early hours. John woke briefly, finding himself unable to breathe, but he wasn't fully awake for the incident, so once his breathing returned to normal, he fell back asleep until the morning. The first thing that struck John upon waking was the smell. The air smelled foul. What's more, the bedding was covered in soot, and there was a strange haze filling the room. Naturally concerned, John rushed from his bed and began searching for Matilda and Patrick. As he made his way downstairs, he spotted through an open door a body lying across the couple's bedroom floor. The body, he quickly deduced, was that of a now deceased Patrick Rooney, and too horrified to go any further out of fear he would suffocate or die by whatever substance may be in the air, John ran from the house to find their son. John alerted the neighbours and their son John Rooney, who sent for a doctor. Police were quickly on the scene and entered the putrid-smelling house. The body of Patrick Rooney lay on the floor of his bedroom, as John Larson had informed them. The doctor who arrived the next day to help carry out an inquest reasoned that Patrick had died of smoke inhalation caused by a fire which was started in the kitchen. The kitchen sat just beside the Rooney's bedroom, and upon entering, the police were hit with even more of an intense smell. The walls of the kitchen were covered in soot, but not the type of soot that they were used to. The soot had a greasy texture to it. In the middle of the kitchen was a large table, upon which was a half-burned candle. More obscurely, beside the kitchen table, was a 2.5 by 3 foot hole in the wooden floor, and at the bottom of the hole, under the house, lay a pile of human ashes and bones. The doctor who examined the remains found a human skull, a cervical bone, vertebrae, 6 inches of a right femur, and a badly burned ilium. He also found a pair of shoes. The shoes belonged to Matilda Rooney, and inside the shoes were her burned but still largely intact feet. The woman who just 2 days ago weighed 160 pounds was now just 12 pounds of ash and bones. The police's first thought was murder, and they turned their attention to the 2 Johns, the one who had stayed with the couple that night of their deaths and their son, who again stood to gain financially from their deaths, but both were cleared. An outline on the bed supported John Larson's claim that he slept throughout the night, and there was no evidence John Rooney had done anything to kill his father or start a fire. No accelerant was found at the scene, and his father had no signs of injury. Dr. Floyd Clendenin, a doctor from Port Huron, Michigan, officially concluded that Matilda had died of spontaneous human combustion of the human body. Her husband, Patrick, had died from asphyxiation from the fumes. He wasn't the only one. John Larson, the poor farmhand, died just 2 weeks later from lung damage. An autopsy found soot and greasy residue in his lungs, the same that was found on the walls of the kitchen in the Rooney's home. But before we get any further, let's take a moment to thank today's sponsor, which is Squarespace. Squarespace is an all-in-one website platform for entrepreneurs to stand out and succeed online. Whether you're just starting out or managing a growing brand, start a paywall, set your own prices, and then charge continuously continuous will lead to self-ignition. The theories at the time were wild, just over 20 years before the
How old are you, Wendy?
I'll be 50 this year.
How old do you feel?
55.
65. You'll be 50, but you feel 65.
How you 55 feel? I don't know.
Is that mentally or physically? Physically. Why is that, you think?
Bad couple of years ago. And never found out what caused it. I walked back. I think what caused it, though, me and my heroin habit. So I noticed when I went to recovery 2 years ago, I straightened out. You feel me? Because I had stopped doing the heroin. And like now, I haven't been doing it as much as I was, and I'm starting to straighten back up. Yeah, that heroin just push your body through a lot. It really do. But other than that, my health is pretty good, just a hypertension that eats me. And smoking the coke don't help it. You know, coming off of coke, it sends your pressure up even more. So, I'm in a no-win situation. Win some, you lose some. Hopefully it ain't my time to lose any. You know. Oh, by the way, my name is Wendy.
Nice to meet you, Wendy.
Yes.
Love that smile, Wendy. You definitely got a genuine smile.
I even lost all my teeth, come to think of it, from this. Eating ice. The dentist been asked me to stop eating ice like that. I have an iron deficiency. I have chronic anemia. I crave ice and cornstarch. You feel me? And the dentist begged me to stop eating ice like that. Cause my teeth will start breaking off, and they did. But I got mine out before they turned to black raisins. You ever seen people with them black teeth in their gun? I call them raisins. And I refuse to walk around my mouth looking like that.
And
I was thinking and everything.
and just eating ice caused that?
It broke my teeth off.
Hmm.
It caused my teeth to start breaking. And then, you know, with the eyes didn't help, you know, so. Hey, handsome.
Get rid of it.
No, I get it today. Oh, God, you gorgeous. You're so handsome. You know that. I love that smile.
Dude, we back. We
Right,
back. Thank
thank
you.
you.
Thank you so very much. We
I
back.
apologize.
It's all good. It's all good.
It's all about business, bro, business.
I ain't mad at you.
Oh,
So you mentioned that you did or do. Well, you lit. You lit, ain't you?
Oh, there ain't nobody.
So you mentioned that you did drugs. When did you first start doing drugs?
Oh, you will not believe it. Oh, Jesus. I started doing heroin at 20. Started smoking cigarettes at 21. Smoked my first piece of coke at 26. I did heroin I started at 20. I did it for 6 years before I kicked cold turkey. I found out I was 6 months pregnant. I kicked cold turkey and stayed clean for 9 years on my own. Then I relapsed on the heroin. Now I got holes in my nose that will not. Anyway, now I got holes in my nose. I could put something up this side and hang it out this side. I lied to you not. And it would never heal. I would have to get it rebuilt. I would have to get surgery. You know what I'm saying? From a cosmetologist. I think that's what they call it. I don't know, but it's there. And it's there for keeps. And now I got about 10 of them motherfuckers up there. It's like holes on top of holes. And people keep trying to say it can't be. You know, it can be. I'm living proof. You can have more than one hole in your nose.
After that 9 years of being drug free, what inspires you to start doing drugs again? Or were you just heroin free?
I was heroin free.
But you still did coke?
No, not for a while. I stayed clean up with coke for 17 months before I relapsed.
What caused you to relapse?
Bored.
Just being bored?
Bored and kept craving it. Them cravings is a motherfucker. Wake up in the middle of the night sweating and shit. I think I always wake up right when I'm going to blow the smoke out. So it make me want to go get it. Because in my dream, it's like a egg-blow. It's like a smoke dream. You feel what I'm saying? And then it's like right before I'm going to enjoy that blow, I wake up. So it makes me want to get it even more. So you don't understand because you've never been there. Thank God. And hopefully you never will. Every time somebody even mention or you even cross my mind, think about me. Think about me. I said, no, you be like, no, that lady I met that day on the corner told me, don't ever touch this. Don't. Tell anybody that, scare them straight. And that's crazy because I went over to jail on a scared straight visit. And that shit ain't scared me straight at all. So my first arrest, it's like I was craving that. Until my dumb ass got laid down the cut. I've been down the cut 3 times. The third time was I had a retake month. So I had to go back down there and I thought they were gonna make me finish my time out. But they didn't. They sent me right back home after 13 days. When I went up for my ticket. Because I only had, 3 weeks left on parole when I got caught, so they sent me back home and told me to report to my agent the next day. I couldn't because I was smoking. So I ain't never go. And they closed it out.
After the 9 years, what made you relapse back onto heroin?
Oh. The people I was around kept offering it. And a lot of times I was saying no. For a long time I was turning it down. Then one night I was geeked up over that coke and I needed something to level me. And so I said, well, maybe a little bump ain't gonna hurt. And that little bump went from a little bump for 1 day, then a little bump for 2 days. After the 3rd day, you done, basically. and you are ready for the habit, you know. So, I dealt with it for a while, though. And then at this point, I was gone again.
Since then till now, have you been using?
No, I had head breaks in between. I just went to rehab just 2 years ago. Yeah, this month will be 2 years.
Did it help any?
Yeah, until my boyfriend died. I lived with him for 15 years. He died on me as I was doing CPR.
Yeah. Was it due to drug use?
No. Well,
I share what I'm listening to and my thoughts on music and the business daily for free at hellousine.com. What's poppin', y'all? I did not know that a no jumper Rico was going to be on the bingo card for this year. And no, it did not involve Adam 22, but it's very eerie because a recent podcast that Adam 22 did, and it also involved his co-host, his main co-host, Brick Baby, and he's one of the people that got arrested. So the people that got arrested were the following, and the Justice Department, and Adam 22 is actually the first to tweet this out, and he said the following: Big U's famous Crip figure, like kind of like an OG. He's had beef with Whack 100, who has a show with Adam 22, and there's static between those two. Brick Baby, who's a co-host, Loose Cannon, who was rolling with Whack 100 for quite a while. They were part of the Exposers, where they expose people for snitching on Clubhouse. And Loose Cannon recently did a podcast with Brick Baby after he had a bit of a falling out with Whack 100. So they got arrested in a Rolling 60s Crip takedown called Operation Drawdown, where you can see a bunch of other people were included in this. Now, for some context, just the day before this podcast dropped with Brick Baby and Loose Cannon sitting, Brick Baby and Loose Cannon had beef for a very long time too. So it's kind of odd. You're like, okay, these guys are getting hit with a RICO and they don't even like each other. And even in that interview, they were talking about fighting or getting up and like squaring up with each other potentially if things went left. But I'm going to play you guys this clip where it talks about dirt that Big U allegedly had on Brick Baby. So I'm going to roll you guys that clip right now, and this is freaky.
But what I'm saying is, cuz is just, he do police shit. And he gets paid by the police. So I can't sit there and justify certain shit because Brick knows, since Brick want to bring up some dirt, I'm going to bring up some dirt, right? Because cuz been blackmailing Brick.
Nah, he ain't blackmailed.
Cuz been blackmailing Brick.
He ain't never blackmailed me.
For years.
He ain't never blackmailed me.
For
ever
years.
in life.
Blackmailing a blackmail is crazy.
What?
Blackmailing him with what?
I know. But
he
at
ain't
the
never
end
blackmailed me. 06 Crip. We all we in it together.
Stop me when I'm lying.
Nigga, I'm stopping you because you said blackmail. Nigga,
Okay,
blackmail is holding it over somebody's head.
Okay, listen.
We all in something together. Brother.
So as you guys just heard, Loose Cannon accuses Big U of blackmailing, not extorting, Brick Baby, and Brick Baby makes it clear, like, hey, it's not extorting, or it's not, I keep confusing extorting and blackmail. It's not blackmailing. We were just a part of something together. You know, if you know, you know, we can't really talk about it. That's a little freaky because then they get arrested. And I'm going to play you guys the news clip that they give a bit of an overview on what Big U was up to. And this guy, sheesh, the guy was a menace.
Rachel, we're in West LA, right behind the Federal Building off Wilshire Boulevard in the 405, where we have a multi-agency investigation. The FBI, the LAPD, and U.S. Marshals. According to the FBI, early this morning, they raided the Rolling 60s neighborhood Crip. Now, we've seen at least a dozen gang members that have been detained and arrested here. Exactly where that raid was conducted is unclear, but we understand more suspects are en route to be booked here. Rachel?
All right, Scott.
Mr. Henley is a widely known leader within the Rolling 60s. He rose to prominence in that gang decades ago, and he has since been a fixture on the internet, talk shows, and podcasts, all things that law enforcement have looked at closely as part of this investigation. He has maintained the image of an entertainment industry entrepreneur running a music label and of somebody who gives back to the community here in Los Angeles, funding a South LA-based charity, developing options, which purports to help at youth risk escape gang life and escape the perils of gangs in high crime areas. The facts alleged in the complaint paint a very different picture. It is one of a murderer, a thief, a liar, and a cheat, and the criminals that enabled him. For example, Mr. Henley engaged in a murder of a musician signed to his label in 2021 and dumped the victim's body in Las Vegas off of the I-15 freeway. He then attempted to evade and obstruct the investigation into the murder, including ordering witnesses not to speak with law enforcement. Henley's criminal enterprise also engaged in other crimes, including transporting prostitutes across state lines, extorting strip clubs, marijuana dispensaries, and other businesses, and fraudulently applying for COVID loans in the form of a business relief loan. On that application, Mr. Henley falsely stated that his music label, Unique Music, operated at a $200,000 profit in 2019 and was entitled to government assistance, despite the reality that the company had operated at a loss and was ineligible for such relief. Finally, Mr. Henley is accused of embezzling donations made by celebrities, professional athletes, and businesses to his charity, Developing Options, which, as I said, purports to give South LA at-risk youth alternatives to gang violence, drugs, and other criminal activity. Henley used this charity as a front. He used it to conceal his fraudulent activities, his criminal enterprises activities, and evade detection from law enforcement. If convicted on the racketeering conspiracy, he and his co-conspirators face approximately a 20-year federal prison sentence. I want to thank our federal law enforcement partners, our state law enforcement partners who brought about the result here today. The Los Angeles Metropolitan Gang Task Force from the FBI is comprised of FBI agents, LAPD officers, IRS criminal investigation, the U.S. Department of Justice Inspector General's Office, Los Angeles Police Department, the North Las Vegas Police Department. This case is a great example of state and federal law enforcement working together.
So you guys just heard, like, how do you allegedly kill somebody that's signed to your label? It's insane levels of menacing. But in the justice.gov release that they put out, it says longtime Rolling 60s Crips leader and show business entrepreneur charged in federal complaint alleging racketeering crimes. And 18 other Rolling 60s members charged federally. So this is a federal indictment. It's not like what Young Thug was facing. Young Thug was facing the state case. These guys are facing a federal case. And this is really unfortunate for Brick Baby. I don't really know too much about Loose Cannon, like his dealings. I just know the brief overview that I gave you. I don't follow that deep into things, but Brick Baby, it seemed like the guy was turning his life around for at least the past year and a half, 2 years, trying to stay out of the BS as much as possible. But like I said, sometimes when your past runs so deep, it doesn't matter how long it's been, they're probably going to come after you. But they're saying that the leader of this organization, Eugene Henley Jr., Big U, of the Hyde Park neighborhood in South LA is charged in complaint with conspiracy to violate the RICO Act. And then he says 2 other alleged members, Vay, Sylvester Robinson, and Mac Martin, 50, Bear Claw, were arrested in the same criminal complaint in which Henley is charged. You could even check that Loose Cannon, this happened so recent, because on the IG story, Loose Cannon has posted something 3 hours ago, and in the story 8 hours prior, he was posting a clip from this very interview.
What's IBM?
IBM Hoodlum.
Well, what's IBM stand for, though?
Integrity before money.
There we go.
That's right.
Shout out the IBM team, IBM Hoodlum. Shout out.
So it's a 107-page federal complaint that claims that the alleged victims of Big U, which they're accusing him of murder, kidnapping, robbery, extortion, and fraud, and this includes athletes and musicians, and this is the whole check-in thing. So these athletes and musicians were required to check in before they arrived in the city in order for them to get protection. What do we call that? Extortion. And this is potentially what a lot of people had issue or that had criticisms for, maybe perhaps people like Soulja Boy or even Chris Brown. They're like, yo, why are these guys getting down with Bloods? They didn't even have to do that. Well, potentially, if they were white, they definitely wouldn't have had to do that, because we don't see white rappers having to deal with that. We didn't see people telling, okay, or biracial rappers, because we're going to use Logic as an example. Logic lived in LA for a long time. They weren't telling Logic, you got to check in and get extorted. But it seemed like maybe the best case scenario for a Soulja Boy or Chris Brown was to just get down with the set, I guess. And they were relatively young when they moved to LA. But to continue, federal authorities likened Henley's Big U enterprise to a mafia-like organization that relied on his stature and long-standing association with the Rolling 60s and other street gangs to intimidate businesses and individuals. More than a dozen others are in custody tied to the case, including Brick Baby and Loose Cannon. The arrests are part of an effort to make our communities safer and rid our streets of these criminal street gangs, including ones operated by violent felons, a widely known leader within the Rolling 60s, and they've accused him of kidnapping and shooting the rapper, like I said, and shooting him in the face and leaving his body in the Las Vegas desert because of the robbery of a dispensary, because that dispensary stopped making extortion payments. So this is wild levels of insanity. And the interesting part about this is Wack 100 and Loose Cannon, even Loose Cannon in that interview or podcast with No Jumper was talking about, oh, Big U's doing police stuff, Big U's doing police stuff. Wack 100 was saying Big U's doing police stuff. So they were trying to frame him as he's getting paid by the police, he's an informant, this and that, which I don't know if that's true. I'm not accusing him of that. But if that was the case, well, he just got picked up. He got picked up by the feds, though, which is different from the local police. So perhaps he had to deal with the LAPD, but then the federal government came in and said, nah, it's time for us to pick this guy up, or we've rinsed him for all that we need him for. At that point, the LAPD probably had to talk with them, because if they wanted to get rid of him, or if they still needed him, they likely maybe would have asked that the federal government chill out a little bit while they still, I don't know, gathered more information. But this is going to hurt I don't know if this hurts No Jumper or gives them more content, because Brick became a mainstay in there, and this is just going to be Adam 22 getting hit harder than Vlad has ever got hit, with people talking about, man, we told y'all Adam 22 was here, his dad worked for Bill Clinton, he's here to take down all these gang members, etc. And these guys were OGs, like they were older dudes in the 50s. One of them was talking about transporting an individual to engage in prostitution. Armani, aka Monty, which is in the LA Times story. There was the Las Vegas killing, of course, that we covered. And I'm not going to lie, it seems like Quando Rondo made the right choice to get out of there and put down that flag. Because he even talks about having pulled up, seen what was going on with Big U, and said he did not know that this is what it all meant when he first signed up to be in a gang when he was, what, a 12-year-old? And in interviews, and this is the thing, they even talked about interviews in the clip I played you guys earlier. Henley, Big U, said, I never made no athlete, no rapper give me nothing. They reach out to me because they feel a connection to me in my neighborhood for whatever reason. Maybe rappers need street cred, but nah, there's no way an athlete, NBA player, is reaching out to check in because they want to show love. Like, come on now. But yeah, I'm really interested to see how deep this goes. There's fraudulently obtaining funding from the LA mayor's office. That's what the government is accusing him of, for the Gang Reduction Youth Development Program. So they say here in the LA Times article, since around 2015, Henley's nonprofit Developing Options has received $550,000 annually as part of the program. The nonprofit was allotted $2.3 million from the city. So this guy's finessing the city from July 2018 to 2023, allegedly finessing the city. And he's drawn hundreds of thousands of dollars purportedly in salary. And then they say the program has an extensive mandatory handbook that is appended to each contract and the Developing Options must comply with. So based on the review of documents in the course of this investigation, Developing Options appears to have failed to comply with some or potentially all of those requirements. They also said he fraudulently applied for pandemic relief loans for that record, not only his record label, but for this youth development program, which I'm not sure if it's a 501c3 or what that falls under. And then they also accused him of committing wire fraud by embezzling more than $100,000 in donations. And none of the donors were identified in the complaint. And then one of those donors was Draymond Green, making a $20,000 donation in 2019. and they said that Big U embezzled the entire donation, transferring the funds to his personal checking account. Another one was Shaquille O'Neal. If you guys don't, Shaquille O'Neal wrote a $20,000 check to the organization for the Crenshaw Rams youth sports team, and they said that Big U transferred most of that money to his account. So these are some crazy allegations. And this also kind of makes sense because Shaq and Academics was talking about how Shaq rolls basically like a gangster, because Shaq reached out to Academics' girl, and there's been some static between them because of that. And Shaq hit up Ac and said, yo, what's the problem? What's going on? And Academics said that he heard from a bunch of other people that Shaq is really tapped in here on some gangster stuff. So perhaps this has something to do with that. Not entirely sure. But this is wild. No Jumper's about to have a ton of content, and we're about to get another wild case. Like I said a year or two ago, the 2020s is the decade of hip-hop cases. We're just getting criminal case after criminal case after civil case. We're getting more cases than music. But let me know what y'all think about this in the comments. Like and subscribe and hit the notification bell if you enjoyed. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram. I share what I'm listening to and my thoughts on music and the business daily for free at helloyouseen.com. What's poppin', y'all? In one of the most unexpected beefs, and by unexpected, I feel like this beef should have happened already or has happened already, and I'm just experiencing deja vu or some alternate universe, is Yes Jules and Academics. And it's not looking good for Yes Jules because she's the one that started all of this and kicked it off. So this started off when Academics was giving news about the album, the Cardi album. He got to listen to it early. Cardi played him a bunch of extra tracks. Some of the stuff didn't end up getting on there, like the Justin Bieber record and these other records, including him saying that he believes that Pierre Bourne may be on there because he heard Cardi shout out Pierre Bourne, but he's not sure. Regardless, one of the statements that he made was that, yo, Kendrick might be creative directing it. I think he said Kendrick's creative directing it and he's a feature. That's why the song with Drake isn't on there. And Playboy Cardi's frequent collaborator and producer Filthy said the following: Kendrick fan, but he is not the creative director of this album, this Cardi album. And Academic sees this and he replies in the following clip.
Kendrick fan, but he not creative director this Cardi album. Okay, am I supposed to react to this? Somebody said Ack is lame. Yo, bro, y'all really, I ain't gonna lie to you. Yo, chat, I've been covering hip-hop for 15 years. I'm in my 30s. I know the main actors. I don't know, like, these side characters. No disrespect to Filthy. I don't know who the Filthy is. Filthy, this ain't a war of words, my nigga. Like, I really don't give a fuck. The point is this. Kendrick's on the album. Is he not? Like, what? I don't even want to argue with no nigga who's like cool with Cardi. Like, bro, like, come on. Like, let's drop the album, my nigga. Again, whether he's a creative director, executive producer, I don't give a fuck. Whatever y'all want to, like, bro, I don't. Again, I'm also not here to try to reduce or make people feel like this ain't Cardi. This is completely Cardi's album. This is Cardi's album. So I think that was your premise, that this is... I agree with this premise here. This is Cardi's album, okay? So I'm with you. Here's the thing. I think hip-hop is in a space where, like, as soon as you mention Dot, you mention, like, Drake, like, niggas want to be like, oh, my God, it's all about them. No. F what Drake got going on. F what Kendrick got going on. It's all about Cardi. And I'm with that. I'm with that, right? And if Kendrick or whatever he got going on is a distraction, I'm with you on that, okay? But Kendrick did help shape this album. Like, let's stop playing, okay? Like, bro, like, we don't have to, like, joke at this point. And again, this is why the album just came out at midnight, because, like, niggas would have heard it and thought whatever. But now we gotta wait. Again, I'm only going off what Cardi told me, but it doesn't matter. Like, I don't give a fuck enough to, like, again, with all due respect, I wish I was off stream right now. I just need to hear the music. And I want to stay on stream that people could at least listen and be like, oh, Ack wasn't lying to us. Oh, no, he heard some great songs. Oh, damn, Ack said the album was mad dope. This shit is actually mad dope, bro. I don't want to argue with, like, you know, again, and this is why I think, this is why you ain't probably announced Kendrick, my nigga, because once you hear Kendrick name, and this is the sad part about it, you hear Kendrick name, you hear Drake name, it's like these two like niggas is back and forth all day, like all fucking day, my nigga. Like, you know what I mean? Like, this got nothing to do with Cardi, bro. This is Cardi's wave. Like, I'll say that, but the reality is, if y'all are acting like that is not, I don't know, maybe the reaction towards the preemptive announcement, people are backing off the Kendrick thing, but what I was told was that Kendrick was heavy-handed with trying to help shape the album. But okay, if y'all want to act like he has nothing to do with it and he just has a feature, or maybe I take the feature off, I don't know. What the hell? I don't give a damn. I ain't say that what Kendrick did was whack. I think it was dope.
So this is a decent response. I will be honest and say, I'll get to the point actually in a second. Well, this is the point, but Yes Jules replies to this in a quote and says, not knowing Filthy is one of Cardi's main collaborators in 2025 as a journalist covering hip hop is surely one way to admit you suck at your job. And then she has a shrugs emoji. And this is pathetic because for multiple different reasons. Number one, academics, this is bait. So she fell for the bait and she wants to get this dunk moment. Yes, Jules needs to look around the room because while a lot of people do hate academics, she is still more hated. And she thinks she's not more hated, but she is. Well, it's not that she's more hated. People just don't care about her. Like, industry people care about Yes Jules. They like her. They have good things to say about her. But everyone outside of that, they don't mess with her. They hate her. I don't know why. I don't necessarily hate her. I just don't really care. Regardless, academics always does. He has this habit of pretending like he doesn't know who certain people are. And I know this to be true 100%. Now, this doesn't happen every time, but academics knows who Filthy is. Now, maybe he doesn't know to what extent Filthy is involved in certain things, but because Filthy replied to this in a certain way, academics is gonna try to save face and pretend that he doesn't know Filthy is in a way to diminish his importance or how much he should or shouldn't care about what he just said. He does this all the time. There are a bunch of people, he'll purposely mispronounce names of people that he knows. And I know that he knows them. And he'll do this all the time. I don't know why he does it, but he does. So this is why I'm saying it's funny from both ends. Regardless, academics follows it up by just going absolutely ballistic on Yes Jules in the following tweet where he says, eat a D and die, WHORE. This tweet was later either deleted or removed because I was not able to find it for some reason. And trust me, I looked for it. So we're just going to take the screen cap from the video clip because he follows it up in a video clip.
Whore, Yes Jules even trying to talk to me. Bitch, you spent half your fucking life on your knees, get your back blown out and sucking, guzzling fucking semen, you fucking whore. How dare you talk to me? You done sucked up half the industry talking about Big Ack. You fucking whore. I don't want to hear nothing from the whore today, bruh. Sit your ass up. Get some Listerine. Fuck sucking. When it's dick sucking time, we'll call you. Fuck. How don't you know this guy? Nigga, maybe because you sucked up the entire studio for every nigga studio session, you fucking whore. I don't know the runner. I don't know the engineer. I don't know.
Academics is a fuck nigga. Golly.
These other niggas. I know the artists. You done sucked everybody's executive to athletes to fucking producers. Yo, bitch.
So as you guys just heard, he is not messing around. Yes Jules replies to this hours later and says, bro, about to pop a blood vessel. Laughing emoji. I don't go back and forth with incels. This has to be the most misused word of the past decade. It has to be this word, but it's also so out of style. Like, who really even uses this anymore? I feel like in the past 16 months it fell out. It's one of those words that people just don't care about anymore. It's just, I got something for that little cootie patootie though. I don't even know what that means. And then somebody says, how do you listen to a Whole Lotta Red and not know who Filthy is? They were literally telling him to wake up through the album. He don't listen to music for real. He's just a gossip blogger. This is the thing. Academics was never a fan of Whole Lotta Red. That's the thing. When do you hear Academics play a Whole Lotta Red? Now, Cardi grew up on Ag. He messes with them to a degree. And that's why we get a lot of the leaks that we get, or announcements that we get. And I think her just trying to diminish this whole journalist thing is disrespectful. Like, Act's broken a lot of news, man. And you don't have to like somebody to understand what he does. And then someone says, just be loud and drunk on stream. And then she says, could be at the gym, but he wants to give people a reason to put big in front of his name. This is, again, the body shaming thing, which I don't necessarily mind. But she continues on. I know, actually, Academics, yeah, he replies. And then she keeps going. Man's been on his knees for Drake all year and can't actually name one person I've been with in the industry, but I'm the hoe? Spare me. Now, there is this rumor that she was with LeBron James and a ton of other people. I don't know if that's true. I do think the rumors around Yes Jules getting around were largely overblown just because of her appearance. But anyway, she goes on to continue to attack Academics. Says, ain't ever broke a record, developed an artist, given back to the community, thrown an event, given a positive platform to anyone. What's he done besides stream from his little den again? Hater, and is trying to ride this wave of hate that she will even lie and make people who aren't even gonna defend Academics for, or people that are critical of Academics for the things that he deserves to be criticized for, defend him. So for example, ain't ever broke a record. Is the guy an A&R? Has he ever pretended to be an A&R? Has he ever said he's on the bleeding edge of new music? He's repeatedly told everyone, like, hey, once you get lit and popping, once you hit Billboard, that's when I'll check out your music. He said the same thing about Ken Carson. So why does he have to break a record? And then number two, developed an artist. Is he an A&R? Did he ever pretend to be? He said he's a journalist, and you criticized him for not being a journalist media personality. So why does he need to develop an artist? So now she's just picking at straws. Giving back to the community, what does that mean? What is the community? Because Yes Jules, I mean, you guys can see Yes Jules' appearance, right? So what community is she talking about? Thrown an event. He actually did throw an event. I think he's throwing an event for his birthday or something. And he also threw an event in London. So he threw an event, which is something that's not required of a journalist or a media personality. And that's really what took him to the next level outside of the internet. Yeah, she can keep waiting because these answers are really obvious. And what makes his opinion on music
So UMG has officially responded to Drake, and they have basically told him, it's over, my guy. They slapped him with this 25-page rebuttal to the judge, where they essentially played the exact same game that Drake's lawyers were playing, using song lyrics both against Drake and to bolster their argument. Only in this case, they're using logic and reasoning, where Drake was using Academics' YouTube streams and his own fan pages for reference.
Yeah, I want it all, that's why I strive for it. This me, you'll never hear a reply for it.
Drake, successful. Plaintiff, one of the most successful recording artists of all time, lost a rap battle that he provoked and in which he willingly participated. Instead of accepting the loss like the unbothered rap artist he often claims to be, he has sued his own record label in a misguided attempt to salve his wounds. Plaintiff's complaint is utterly without merit and should be dismissed with prejudice. Basically, they came out swinging and making the point that everyone else already has, that if Drake had been victorious in this battle of public perception, that he would not be suing anyone. In fact, he would likely be going on the Fuck Kendrick tour just like he did with Meek Mill. They even note here that Drake himself was encouraging Kendrick to drop a response to him for weeks, which is exactly what happened. He was even going on Instagram saying that they have nothing to drop, and that he had the red button on deck if they did, which most people now assume was his Family Matters track. And well, we all know how that ended. Essentially, UMG comes from the angle that both of these guys said hyperbolic things about each other. Obviously, Drake was called a PDF at the Super Bowl, by the way, and the Grammys. Oh god, and at the Oscars too?
Well, we're halfway through the show, which means it's time for Kendrick Lamar to come out and call Drake a pedophile.
And Kendrick was called a wife-beating lowlife who Drake says is fathering the love child of his partner and his best friend and business associate, Dave Free. Basically, UMG is saying that Drake and Kendrick, by Drake's depiction in his lawsuit, both actually committed their share of defamation using UMG as the vehicle to do so, and that this is actually an attempt to basically limit or restrict Kendrick's right to free speech and creativity, and that the implications of this lawsuit is something that Drake has signed petitions against in the recent past, using song lyrics as facts in court.
Mind, body, and soul, you need facts to take me out. Fairy tales don't do it.
These are all things I said when the lawsuit first reared its ugly head, that there is no logic behind his claims because he did all the same shit. For instance, in alternate reality where photos surfaced of Whitney being all beaten and battered, we might be looking at a totally different outcome. But to the victor goes the spoils, and for Drake's claims of adultery and abuse, there was little to no evidence to point to. That's why the claims really did not stick. Next, they really go through Drake's career and highlight the fact that they had a successful business partnership for the greater part of the last 2 decades, making him one of the most popular artists in the world during that time.
His business is selling the record, but everything that they said that they did for Kendrick is something they did for him.
And then they break down the lyrics of the songs from the beef to kind of just display that both of these men were talking their shit to each other. Then, seemingly impatient with the time it was taking Lamar to respond, Drake released Tailor-Made Freestyle on Instagram. The recording uses artificial intelligence to make it sound as if the voices of deceased rap icon Tupac and rapper Snoop Dogg are rapping Drake's lyrics.
He did the Tupac thing.
Drop and give me 50.
Yeah. Doing the Tupac AI thing. Right. You know, you talk about feeling disrespect. I mean, the whole coast, we love Tupac. Right. You know what I'm saying? The world love Tupac.
Drake urges Lamar in the voice of Tupac to talk about Drake liking young girls. I mean, y'all have to remember, Drake said the Epstein angle was what he expected, that he plotted for weeks and fed Kendrick this information. They also note that these rumors of him having questionable relationships with underage girls in the entertainment industry have been circling for almost a decade. They even cite here the video of him and the 17-year-old girl on stage at his concert from 2010. Remember, Drake is the one who specifically brought up Millie Bobby Brown on The Heart Part 6, and to me I've always seen that as sort of a self-report, because while Kendrick said, oh, you like these young girls, he never mentioned any of them by name. And in his own voice, Drake raps,
Since like that, your tone changed a little. You're not as enthused. How are you not in the booth? It feels like you kinda removed. You try and let this shit die down. Nah, not this time. You following through. I guess you need another week to figure out how to improve. What the fuck is taking so long? We waiting on you.
And then obviously the nuke was dropped on his head top. Now, they really continue to harp on the back and forth of the lyrics. I saw Drake fans online saying that this was pathetic, but it's like, how do you not realize that they are just being petty and showing Drake how slippery the slope he's trying to create is? They also say that he has zero grounds for his defamation case, and I feel like even if he did, he should be suing Kendrick, not UMG, because the words said with alleged malice all came out of his mouth. They then cite several defamation lawsuit attempts that public figures filed that quickly got dismissed. For those of you that don't know, defamation is extremely hard for a public figure to try and prove, and to say someone acted with true malice is almost impossible to prove. Basically, the filing says, Drake, you are a huge hypocrite and a really sore loser, and you have no justification for your claims that will hold up in court.
I studied rap battles for a living.
So this is honestly going exactly like I thought it would, and it's even funnier to watch all the Drake dick riders crash out on Twitter. It has been damn near a year since this all started, and they have fought tooth and nail every single day trying to twist and turn the narrative in their favor.
Embarrassing!
Obviously Drake's not fucking paying underage girls.
He can get any girl he wants, in my opinion. Like, I think Drake won that beef. Drake revived Kendrick's career. Yeah, come on, I mean.
It's really like Kendrick did permanent damage to some of these fools. Like they're out here hiding his albums at the store. Doxing people and threatening lives over Billboard charts. This one girl, the Kendrick fan, even went out to the place that they were going to meet up to fight.
If any of y'all wanted to know, I am here. I'm still here. Yeah, I'm still waiting.
Now, to me, both of these people should be ashamed of themselves, because they have let this internet shit go way too far. They are way too invested. Like, whether you like Drake or Kendrick, it will never be worth losing your life.
And then they get people to push a narrative, and then you become a human bot.
If y'all come for me and how my Sims characters look, number one, He's a biker, so that's why he looks kind of like that. I don't make all my male Sims that feminine, so don't judge me.
Don't be a bot ass nigga. You know, don't be programmed to say something that's not true because it's somebody else's agenda because you heard other bots say it.
And even when Drake dropped his most recent album on Valentine's Day, which I actually thought was a decent record, his fans couldn't even truly enjoy it because their boogeyman had and has had the #1 song in the world with Luther, and has now been beating Drake's album in sales months after GNX was released. An album with half the amount of songs, by the way, with several of his singles retaining very high placement on the charts. And this was all despite Drake allegedly paying people trying to manufacture trends for songs from his new album.
Just break down what you've been doing with Drake and Party Next Door's team for their album launch. We did 53 million views in a week. This album went #1 in 7 days. They gave us a budget to pay out their audience, pay out clippers and UGC creators to just make content like around the album, anything related. So we're paying 70 cents per 1,000 views for UGC creators to make like videos reacting to it, lip syncing, dancing. And you guys basically created like the Nokia trend. Yeah, it's cooking right now. I can't escape it.
That is the exact same shit that he was accusing Kendrick and UMG of doing to manufacture a hit for Not Like Us. While his fans encouraged people to stream the album in their sleep, and some of them were even out here buying 30 copies to try and propel him up the charts. And that's not to even mention the accounts who have been running propaganda plays with steak ads for the last 9 months, spreading blatant lies every single day to millions of accounts, and even comparing his situation to Emmett Till. Like, some of y'all have lost the fucking plot. On another front though, I did want to talk about Drake's tour in Australia because it got cancelled about halfway through, with his team stating that it was due to a scheduling conflict.
So Drake has actually just canceled
Well behaved though for ya.
New Zealand tour.
They suppressing him in Australia too? UMG reached crazy!
Get on my nerves.
Wow!
Which people were not buying at all.
Fans are pissed off because they have all these shows now that are canceled. And they're trying to figure out what is happening because the reason that was given was just scheduling conflict. And people are like, that makes no sense. What is a scheduling conflict? This was the two. We're supposed to have it together. They're like, he's not committed to his fans. They think that there's something underlying here. There's something really, really wrong. I don't know how oversight like that happens, though, on a tour this big.
Exactly.
And since he stopped the shows, he has made non-stop public appearances. So it seems that the schedule was pretty cleared up all along. This cancellation led to many people assuming the tour was not selling as well as he thought it would. And even looking at some of these videos, the crowd looks much weaker than what you would expect. Other than that, every night this shit basically turns into a charity case with people begging Drake for money. And of course he had to go on yet another rant on the fakeness of the entertainment industry, crying about everyone who decided to turn their back on him in what he describes as his weakest moment.
For my family, for my friends, for all my collaborators, all the producers, all the other artists that I work with, the ones that didn't turn pussy, I mean, the ones that still will.
So Drake clearly is still out to self-victimize himself, and the dude is still extremely hurt. Like, at the end of the day, Drake's reputation, fame, and status almost seemed more important to him than the actual money, and now a lot of that has obviously been stripped away. I mean, just looking at that moment from the Oscars, it was the most talked about thing of the night. In terms of the petition he had filed against iHeartRadio, trying to see the payola discovery, they have come to a resolution with iHeart saying, in exchange for documents that showed iHeart did nothing wrong, Drake agreed to drop his petition. No payments were made by either one of us. Remember that Drake's stance was that iHeart had received illegal payments, aka payola, from UMG to boost the radio play of the #1 song in the world. This was settled by a judge with prejudice, meaning that Drake cannot go back and try and open this back up. And that is kind of the exact way I see this UMG lawsuit playing out. And I just really can't shake the thought, like, why did you have to do this, Drake? Like, even if he somehow wins, it sets a horrible precedent for rap, freedom of speech, and really all forms of artistic expression that are protected by that. All this guy had to do was take his L on the chin and move on. He has a big enough fan base, and he just dropped a good enough record where the conversation would have begun to move past the beef. In fact, I think people were getting a little bit fatigued of it, seeing the Grammys, seeing the Super Bowl. I think it felt like 100% done, it felt 100% milked. It felt like the moment had kind of passed, but it's like he just keeps extending it. He keeps turning the stove back on only to burn his own hand. But either way, I want to know what you guys think about this latest update down below. I also want to thank you guys for watching today's video, dropping a like and subscribing, but as you guys know, it's been your boy the Tan Superman, and some other rap beef out here needs to be covered, so I'm out. Peace.
Girl, your stuff is gonna get put out. It is sheriff, police, or something here to put everything out, taking pictures.
So UMG has officially
And the fucking game crashed, as usual. So, I gotta stop this stream because this is gonna take a really long time to come back up. And it's a pain in the ass, so I know what I can't do. But I have to stop it, so I'll come back. So I'm playing it, I might as well come back. So I'll be back after everything gets back up. Probably gonna be back. Maybe like 30 minutes, gonna take that damn long.